Tēnā koutou te whānau o Auckland Unitarians. Tēnā koutou nā manuhiri. No mai haramai ki tēnei whare karakia a te atua. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tatou katoa. We welcome you into this circle of community. Welcome into this space made sacred by Auckland Unitarians for 115 years. We especially welcome you if you're a visitor or just passing through or seeking a spiritual home. We welcome you to gather with us in faith, not faith in one religion or one God or any one way. We gather in faith of the power of diversity, the power of love, and the hope of a world transformed by our care. We gather in faith in ourselves and those around us, not a faith that requires perfection or rightness in one another, rather a faith that is shared imperfection. We may learn to stumble and fall together. Faith that we will help one another to stand up and to try again and again. This is who we are. We are Unitarians. This morning is the first of two Sundays devoted to Pride Month. Unitarians have long welcomed the LGBTIQ community to be full participants in our lives. The last time this congregation was in the news as much as we've been the last 2 weeks was when we performed the first same-sex marriage in New Zealand after the law reform. Our banner up front declaring that we are standing on the side of love came out of our efforts to bring about that reform. So today, we welcome Aatir Zaiidi. Raise your hand, Aatir. There you are. Aatir works as a caregiver for people with autism. He is a member of the Equation Board, their secretary, which is a group that provides social support for Asians who are LGBTIQ. And we're delighted he's come to share his experience as an Indian Muslim who immigrated here and the experience of knowing he was gay since he was a young man. We light this flame to ignite our hearts and minds, the spark of knowledge that enlightens, the shimmering hope that burns, the blazing love that engulfs our actions, the bonfire of our commitment. We light this flame for those who celebrate themselves, who fear and who hope and who persevere, who stand on the side of love for all. We light this flame for those who have been ridiculed, that they may find peace, for those who have fought to marry, that they may celebrate, for those who live in uncertainty in the world, that they may have hope. We light this flame to renew our commitment, that no one shall ever again suffer for the right to love. We light this flame to celebrate our kaleidoscope of diversity, working, loving, and living on the side of love. For this, we light this flame.
Hello, everyone. It's always a difficult topic for me to discuss my sexual identity and my religious identity, and I would like to thank Clay for having me here and giving me the opportunity to talk about it. Because it's such a hard topic for me, I'm going to read it, and after that, I'm just going to speak something about it, and if you have any questions, you can ask me anything you would like. So, someone said to me day before yesterday that I can't be queer and Muslim, and I asked them why not, and they said because anyone who thinks they can be gay and Muslim are stupid. So, and I wanted to give them an answer, so I took a minute and thought about it. And I replied to them, I mean, I was like, look at me. I'm Muslim and gay, and I'm fierce. I'm doing so much work in the community. And a lot of people ask me to tell me about my experience as a gay Muslim man. And to be honest, my sexual identity and my religious identity are not different at all because I was born in a Muslim family and I was born as gay, so I don't think there's a difference in the two, or I don't think I can choose one. So many times I've been attacked for telling people that I'm gay and Muslim. They say they always ask me to choose one identity. I and because I was born in an Islamic family, I don't think I can choose one because both are important to me. And to me, Islam has two dimensions. One is cultural and one is religious. My festivals, language, and lifestyle was Islamic. And to leave all that is impossible. I think my queerness and my religion are so much like a fabric, like a fabric is interwoven with threads. I think my religious and sexual identity are like that fabric. I don't think I need a higher authority to tell me that how I should be living my life. I mean, I'm happy to be Muslim and gay. I don't need to know someone else's explanation to Quranic verses. I have spent too much time interpreting, getting into hermeneutics, and looking at verses to find comfort in my queerness. But I feel like the more you look at the text, you can keep interpreting it and adding your meaning to it. But at the end of the day, it's just a text. I think every religious text requires context and your experience to interpret it. My beliefs are more guided by humanitarian approach and mercy to other people. I want to stay. I still want to be a Muslim because it is because I think I crave for community, and I want to find people like me. And apart from, and I think because Muslim community is not the only community having homophobia, I think most communities and mainstream LGBT community looks at Muslim community as backward and living in Stone Age. But I'm still part of that mainstream and LGBT community because we all are different and all communities have their own issues. Muslim community also suffers from misogyny and anti-blackness. In addition to that, we are socially profiled, racially profiled. Our countries are invaded in the name of saving us. When I say I'm queer, I'm fighting for and against my own community because there are people like me who are stuck in the community, and then as part of Muslim community, we also face a lot of stigma of being a terrorist. I have reached a conclusion that I think I want to be a part of community. To be specific, I'm looking for queer Muslim community, a community where you will not be able to give up the Islamic practices, where I do not have to explain myself time and again, where I can celebrate my festivals and read Quran at the same time, where we can exchange our country-specific culture, but it is not so optimistic thinking sometimes. Like, I occasionally get hate messages, some ignorant comments, Sometimes you'll find me crying alone. Um, thoughts about leaving my family or maybe assimilating into mainstream culture and giving up on my religion. But I think the thought that there will be a revolution and that I have people that I can call my family in this country, that I will have a queer Muslim community is what keeps me going. And this is the first time I'm attending a church that is so open to LGBT community. So it's really surprising for me to see so much acceptance in every one of you. When I was growing up in India, we have to be like really straight. Like you can't wear pink or you can't act a little bit feminine. So I guess I was always bullied for being different. When I was in primary school, I never had any friends because if I got along with girls, the boys used to look at me as someone different. And when I got along with boys, they were like, oh, we're not going to play with you because you're different. So I guess I ended up being lonely. And we didn't have counselors or psychologists that we could go and talk to because I felt like if I came out to anyone, uh, they're going to be really homophobic. And what if they tell someone? So I guess like for 20 years, I hid my sexuality until I came to New Zealand. Not saying that, made me comfortable, but I think people were really open in accepting me. When I was back in my country, I think I did not have trust in people that they'll be accepting me. So that was that. And then, because I was raised by my mom, and we had a lot of family problems going on, so I didn't feel like coming out to her as well, because I was like, she's already dealing with so many problems. I don't want to increase one more problem in her life. So yeah, and when I came here, I didn't drive. I used to live with my brother. He was extremely homophobic, and he still is. Um, so I just showed a lot of compliance to him. I nodding my head to whatever he said until I started to drive, got independent, got into community, um, got on the board of Equation, started helping people like me, and here I am. Like I did my research on New Zealand Muslim gay men. When I started my research, I didn't think I'll find participants, but luckily I was looking for 5 participants, but I ended up finding so many Muslim people who were living in New Zealand and were gay and wanted to talk about their experiences. So yeah, I mean, if I think someone just said that if you look for light in darkness, you'll find light, and I'm just glad to be here and doing so much work, and I don't want to stop. So, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Can you worship with other Muslims?
Um, I used to go to mosque initially, but I guess I felt a lot of microaggressions and subtle homophobia. And when I saw people talking about they were anti-gay rights and stuff, I didn't feel comfortable going there. But if I have to go, if I have to worship and go, I will still go there because of my faith. But I think I've stopped believing in practices. I'm more believing in faith rather than practice. Yeah.
Just thinking about the future, do you think there will be a softening of the homophobic approach from the Muslim religious order?
No, I don't think so because because in Muslim community, we take everything word to word by the Quran. And I've watched a lot of debates, I've watched a lot of things online, but there's no acceptance, and there will never be acceptance from the mainstream community. There can be sections of Islam, progressive Islam, that they can support us, but I don't think there will be ever mainstream Islam that will be accepting us. My sister is still in denial. She still thinks if I get married, everything will be fine. My mom is concerned more about my biological child. So that's that. But they met my boyfriend, and yeah, but they're still in denial. They just don't want to accept it because I think, yeah, they take everything word to word. So to be honest, I've just come across one Muslim lesbian in New Zealand. So I think they're out there, but I think they're too scared to come out and, talk in public. But I think if I try to find Muslim lesbians, I think there will be a lot of them. Yes.
Do you have experience associating with people of Sufi sect?
Yes.
What their orientation to homosexuality is?
Well, I myself, I'm very influenced by Sufism. I recently wrote a play as part of Legacy Project, and it was very much guided by Sufism and Sufi beliefs. So I myself consider a Sufi devotee, and I feel like they are really guided by love, and I think they're really accepting. And if you look at some of the Sufi poetry, you'll find a high level of queerness in the poetry. So that's pretty impressive. Yes.
I don't know how true it is, but I've read that in some Muslim countries, that homosexuality between older men and young boys is accepted. How does that work? Meaning it doesn't, it's sort of homosexuality in a way, but it's not.
Yeah. If you look at Islamic rules, if you go by Islamic rules, homosexuality is not at all accepted. But I was watching a documentary about Pakistan the other day, and child abuse and child molestation is really high. So I think that's like using a loophole to get into. I mean, obviously, if you have sanctions about homosexuality in a country, you can't practice it openly, but you find loopholes to have sex, and you find loopholes to exploit other people. So I guess they're just using. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not, because if you ask any practicing Muslim and you say and you ask them that is Islam ever going to decriminalize or going to accept homosexuality, their answer will always be no. I mean, there are progressive Muslims like probably me or you who are going to accept it. But I think if you go by rules and regulations and hadith and Quranic verses, I think it's never going to get accepted. No, I'm not generalizing, but I'm saying progressive Muslims are going to accept it, but I don't think the mainstream Islam is ever going to accept it. Like, we are sitting here and accepting it, and we are worshiping God. But I don't think mainstream Catholic Christians are going to accept it ever.
They might say that it may be criticized, but consider how more accepting the Christian community.
Well, I'll give you an example. Like, if you look at New Zealand, it's been accepted. Like, we have gay marriages. We can hold hands in public. But do you think I can take my boyfriend to a mosque? Sorry? Deny what? Well, of course they can't punish me in here because they are, they're like, they have to accept the rules and regulations of New Zealand society. But I think when you say that personally they don't accept it, you're like, and each person's opinion makes a majority. So, of course, they're not going to accept it ever. Like, they just have to. I think that they look at it as a Western disease. So, no, I agree that it's there. It's there. But do you think the government is ever going to acknowledge it? So you think Saudi Arabia is going to accept it, acknowledge it, the government? Okay. Good. Good. I'll wait for that day.
One of the features of Unitarian churches is we have our opinions and share them openly. I want to thank you, Aatir, for being
There's
with
one
us.
more question, sorry.
And part of that process, that revolution that Arabs crave, has to be the freedom of women, the freedom of gay people too.
No, I agree to what you're saying, but I think we have to make it really clear between conservative political views and religious views. I mean, yeah, it can happen, but their beliefs are so staunch. If you live in a Muslim culture, you're not allowed to have any femininity in you or any like you have to be completely straight hetero male. That's what you have to be. And like she said, there are same-sex relationships, but we try to shove it under the carpet. We don't talk about it because it's just shameful to talk about it.
One of the ways, Aatir, it changed in this country and in America, where I'm familiar, is 30 years ago, I would have said exactly what you said about Christianity. What changed was people like yourself coming and sharing, coming out, basically, and people learning that their family members and their coworkers and their friends were gay, and that they cared about them. And that modified how they understood their faith. So it's a long process, and that would be my hope for Islam as well, that will, because relationship really is even stronger than reading the literal word of like the Quran or the Bible. So we'll hope. And I thank you for being here and sharing openly your experience and your work within the community.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. Gathered in our varied faiths, we give thanks for the blessings of world community as we share our common dream. Homes and schools where children thrive, neighborhoods that are safe and clean, a city rich in colors and culture, an economy where no one is expendable, a beloved community where rich and poor alike have access to the opportunity for a dignified, productive life. Churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples, where our deepest hope is to be of service to a hurting world. Enable us as we leave this place to carry forth this prayer into the coming week, turning our thoughts toward charity, our hearts toward justice, and our hands toward the work of peace. Shalom, amen, namaste.